Hey girl, hey! Welcome back to Heavenly Zen Designs, where crafting and chaos meet. Through mixed media art, wood decor, life, and more. You just never know what we're getting into next. Go grab your coffee and pull up a seat. We got lots to do, people. Lots to do, and even more to talk about. My name is Kelly, and I am so excited you're here. Hey, before we begin, please do me a solid and share this channel with all of our friends. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you too can be the first to know when new videos are released. Well, hello there, all you pretty people. Nice to see you back. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be doing several DIYs using a bunch of different products. These round circles that I have are called Simple Shapes, and they are from COUTURE. They come in a 4-pack technically, 2 circles and 2 squares. You will see the squares here in a minute. Now everything that I'm using will be listed in the description box down below, and also this decor set minus the lanterns will be available on my website www.heavenlyzendesigns.com. All right, back to what we were doing. So I have the round simple shapes times 2. I also had a sewing needle or upholstery needle that I picked up from Walmart. And this bead set, it was a variety of beads in a bag from Michael's. And I think I purchased a couple of those bags and stuck them in that container. But I take some string, put the upholstery needle on it, thread those through, and now I'm gluing everything together. I'm going to put on some feet. And just like that, we have a little stand. Now we're going to move on to these square simple shapes from COUTURE. And I was like, what am I going to do? If I use a string, they won't be straight. So remember these from my haul, you guys? I thought I was just going to use those to paint these beads with, you know, from here into infinity. But I was like, wait a minute. What if I put them on there and I can get it to stay straight? These beads, I did have to push them off the edges a little bit because it wasn't exact, but it still turned out so cute. Look at our square stand. And I did these stands in different size beads, so the square actually sits up higher than what the circle stand sits. And you will be able to see that from the profile at the end in the pictures. All right, so here was something that I didn't think I was going to be doing. I thought I was just going to glue these beads on there and I was going to be perfectly fine with the way they looked, but something inside me was bugging me going, I think you need to antique these, paint them a little bit. So I took some white Waverly paint and I painted all the beads. And then I'm going to go back in here with some antique, and I'm going to mix the antique with the white. And the antique is also Waverly. But I'm going to mix the two and to get like a beigey color. And I'm going to go back and I'm just going to dry brush this new color onto the beads and the top. I'm going to set that aside, do the other one, and then I'm going to go back in with my white Waverly paint and go on top of what I just painted, but just a little, like you're building a pyramid. So it was all white base, and then it had like the middles, you know, the color mixture, and then just a hint of the white on top, just to blend everything together. And look how cute they are. Look at that. And I was just gonna leave alone. Yeah, nope. Y'all just stick with your gut and keep going. Our next little DIY that we're going to be doing is using this Dollar Tree birdhouse, a metal birdhouse. And I had pulled some paper packs out of my stash, and this was actually the 3rd paper pack that I went through before I found what I thought I was looking for. And it actually was exactly what I was looking for. But I 100% did not know that until I was almost finished with all of these DIYs, when everything just flowed together. So I found my paper and I cut the bottom of it off so that it was the same height as what my birdhouse is. And then I went and traced it and cut out the inside circle. And I was like, yeah, it's nice, but I feel like it needs something on the inside. So I found this chalkable chip from COUTURE. Again, you know, the simple shapes, these chalkable chips, this is not their purpose, you guys. But sometimes we gotta think outside the box, right? So just because they're used, or their main use is for essentially being chalked on, that doesn't mean that you can't use them for other purposes as well. You use what you have, and these I had. So guess what? We're using them. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking my Distress Oxide in the color Vintage Photo, which by the way is water soluble, so we are not going to seal this. But I'm taking the Distress Oxide and I am using my blending tool and I'm going to lightly distress the edges. Now I'm going back into my paper pack and I'm going to be pulling a scrapbook paper so that I can cut a circle and glue it on the chalkable chip and put it on the back side of my birdhouse. Now, I just thought about something that I will be doing next time, but essentially you could probably, instead of using that chalkable chip, glue your scrapbook paper circle on the back and then cut out another birdhouse shape and use that as the backer. Man, I didn't think of that. That's okay though. That is okay because I will remember that for next time. So now I'm gluing the round circle on the chalkable chip and the birdhouse cutout onto the birdhouse. And then I'm going to glue these two pieces together using Starbond glue. Now, I got my Starbond off of Amazon, and like anything else that you buy in bulk, the more you buy, the cheaper it is. Don't get me wrong, Starbond is not cheap, but I use the thick version of Starbond. It's less runny than the thinner versions, and I just like it better. But do yourself a favor and don't get this stuck to your skin because it'll be there for a minute. Back to our birdhouse. I was like, oh, look at how this displays. Oh, I see you. I see what we got going on here. Now we need some birdies, people. These birds are also from COUTURE, and you guys are probably going, Kelly, you keep using stuff from COUTURE. When are you going to actually chalk something? Girl, I got you. Don't worry your pretty little head. We're about to do that right now. We are going to do double-sided chalk paste on both of these birdies. Did I mention the fact that I have never used COUTURE chalk paste before? Ever? Never ever, people. So this is going to be a first for everybody. So right now I pulled down the birdhouse and I'm trying to match colors on it so that I could do the chalk paste on the birds. And I figured out that Dune and Storm was a good pair, and so was Guava and Eucalyptus. So what I decided to do was to paint the birds the same color facing the same direction. So when they're facing to the left, they got pasted with the Dune and the Storm, and when they're facing the right, they both got Guava and Eucalyptus. And that way, when they're facing each other, one would have the colors of Dune and Storm, and the other one would have the colors of Guava and Eucalyptus. Oh my gosh, you guys, I do not know why I didn't start COUTURing sooner. 100% honest opinion, 10 out of 10 would recommend. If y'all ain't chalking, you need to start. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to remake this mason jar that I got from the dollar store. I just unscrew the little screws and pry off the mason jar lid part, and then I'm going to sand down or sand off all of the image. And honestly, sanding these signs are so easy. It literally came right off in a few seconds. Now, once this is completely sanded down, I'm going to pull out my COUTURE stencils. And I'm just trying to find something that I think will fit and look nicely on this jar. And you guys, I went through all the ones that I had and found this one. And I was like, oh, I think this will look good. Ooh, okay, I like that. So I don't really know what I was doing here, but obviously trying to, put a piece of tape on there like I was really ready to lay down a stencil. I was not. I was getting ahead of myself. So anywho, I sanded down the back. Then I got a piece of craft paper. I traced the mason jar, cut out the craft paper and glued it onto the back. And then I did it again, except this time I wrinkled it. I wanted to have a distressed look to it. So I wrinkled it, flattened it back out, and glued it onto the back of the mason jar. So then I flipped it over and I painted it with the Waverly chalk paint in white. I allowed time for it to dry and moved on to the next project. All right, y'all, we will be getting back to the mason jar, but in the meantime, while that dries, I pull out this 4x6 double-sided shadow box frame that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and it was part of my haul video if you saw that. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm going in with the same paper pad that I used on the birdhouse because I want corresponding decor. So I'm taking this frame apart. It's got 2 pieces of glass and that picture in the middle, and I did it, y'all. Did you see that? I broke one of the glass pieces. I did not mean to. Like, I think I have really weak hands, but obviously I did something and I squeezed it too hard. But anyways, I just took the other piece, kind of indented it so that I could cut it, and then I cut the scrapbook piece of paper. And then when I stuck it inside the frame, I cut the very bottom of the first piece off, and I believe I cut the very bottom of the second piece off too, just like a 1/16 of an inch, just a little tiny bit, because it was sticking out the very top. I cut both of those and then put it in frame, and it is so cute. And actually, it was a blessing in disguise, you guys. Truly a blessing in disguise, because the glass made the pictures shiny and it didn't go with the decor. So the glass piece went into the middle, one piece of scrapbook paper on one side and the other, and now we have a double frame that we can flip. Now, I thought I was done with this frame, but when I set it on the stand, it was really glossy. The frame was glossy, and so it didn't have that matte finish like everything else. So what do? I pull back out the Waverly chalk paint, and I painted this white with the chalk paint, except for the very bottom, the part that touches the ground or the stand, and I just painted all around it, inside, outside, etc. So I got all the framing done with that matte white. And then I went in with the Waverly white and antique, mixed it like I did on the stands, and I painted the inside of the frame, the outside of the frame, and the mason jar. So then I went back in with white of the Waverly chalk paint, and I blended it out, both the mason jar and the picture frame. Once I was done with that, I went in with the antique, and I just went around the edges of the mason jar to give a little contrast and so that the mason jar could stand out. And then I hit it with the heat gun real fast. Now I pull my COUTURE transfers back out and grab the one that I thought would look really good on here. I also grabbed the guava and eucalyptus chalk paint, and I'm just putting it on there and blending while I go. And then I'm peeling it off, and I realize, oh my God, I did not let this thing dry all the way. Now, you guys couldn't see it on the mason jar, but I'm sure you could see on the transfer that there was a white spot, and it had actually taken up the paint that I had just painted. But I was able to quickly fix it, and you can't even tell. Okay, so now I needed to do the mason lid part of the mason jar. And again, the lid, of course, it's metal, so it's going to be shiny, and I really needed to dull it down. So I started sponging on some of the antique Waverly paint, and when that didn't satisfy me, I pulled out the alcohol markers. And then I just started going into all the crevices with the alcohol markers, and I believe there was a total of 4 that I used. And then it happened, y'all. Can anybody guess what's about to happen? Do you see how red hot that mason jar lid is getting? Yeah, can you even imagine what I'm about to do? I guess you could say I just got too itchy and I wanted to touch it. Y'all, when I tell you I screamed at the top of my lungs when I burnt my fingers, oh my God. And look at me, I'm creeping. Come here, hot metal, burning metal, burning metal, burning metal. And this is in the slowest slow-mo I could go. But can you imagine how quickly I whipped my hand away from there? Well, guess what? I'll show you. It went like this. Now, I 1000% do not recommend you touching hot metal. Okay, don't do it. Or you will end up with these little fluid-filled pockets that hurt every time you brush them up against something. So now that I have my wits about me again, after my near-death experience with a heat gun and an innocent-looking piece of metal, don't let the looks fool you, people. I am showing you what Nouveau alcohol markers I was using. And they were in pitch black, rich mahogany, vintage, walnut, I believe, and ancient fossil. So here we are again, me thinking that we are done with this mason jar lid. And nope. I decided it needed some dry brushing with some white Waverly chalk paint. Now, doesn't that look so much better? Now we're going to finish up the mason jar by gluing on the lid. I used Starbond and hot glue, and then I put the screws back in it and screwed it down. Once I was done with that, I went and grabbed a Simple Shapes base from COUTURE and glued the base onto the back of the mason jar. And once that was secured, that was it, you guys. So what did you think? We did 7 DIYs today. I won't even tell you how long that took. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. As always, thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions about the process or where I got my supplies and it's not already in the description box, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Again, please do me a solid and share this channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon if you too want to be the first to know when new videos are released. Until next time, my friends, craft like crazy, reign in the chaos, live life to the fullest, and I'll meet you right back here in my next video. Follow me on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Heavenly Zen Designs, or visit my business page at www.heavenlyzendesigns.com.